We just arrived at our hotel in Kathmandu, and originally we were supposed to spend 2 nights here, but Nepal has had a lot of things going on in the past month and the past couple of days. Last month there were actually a lot of protests and the government was overthrown, but things are getting back to normal around here. But over the past couple of days there has been a lot of rain and a lot of flooding. So the road that we were supposed to take to Ramechhap, where we were going to get on our flight to go to Lukla, has been completely washed out, and we have to take a much longer road. So instead of 4 hours of driving, it's going to be about 9 hours of driving. So we're actually going to leave tomorrow instead of the following morning. Because of that, me and Vince and Tad need to go get some shopping done tonight, and we need to get our duffel bags packed tonight. Our trekking company, iTrek Everest, has provided us with these duffel bags. This is what we're going to keep all of our stuff in for the entire trek. And it will be about 11 days of trekking if everything goes to schedule. But yeah, there are just a couple of things that we wanted to buy once we got here. I'm looking for a jacket, so is Tad, and maybe some gloves. So we popped out into the streets of Tamil in search of a trekking gear shop, and there was one right nearby our hotel. And of course, there are tons of these stores throughout Tamil, but we went ahead and just stopped at the first one we encountered because we were so short on time. We each picked out a few things and then went and grabbed some dinner, and we did try our first momos, which is one of the most popular foods you can find throughout Nepal. We also grabbed some boba tea, and then we went back to the hotel to pack our duffels. Alright, I'm doing just the last minute touches on my packing, and then we are meeting up with Sonam to meet the rest of our trekking group and do a brief in the lobby, and then we're off on a 9-hour drive to Ramechhap. So yeah, this is happening a bit sooner than we expected, but it's really happening now. We've been training for this for so long, and it's hard to believe that it's actually finally happening. I'm excited, but I'm also pretty nervous. I really just hope I make it to base camp. I really want to see it. I really do. But at this point, only time will tell. I think no matter how far I make it, it's going to be a really beautiful journey. Yeah, let's just keep our fingers crossed that the elevation sits well with me. I'm also really excited to get to see some of Kathmandu when we get back, because even though we've only been here for a night, it seems like a really cool city. So we just got our trekking maps. We're starting here. Walking all the way up to Everest Base Camp, hopefully. It's gonna be a long hike. And just like that, our adventure had begun. As we drove out of Kathmandu, we could see some buildings whose windows were shattered during the Gen Z protests a few weeks before, but other than that, the city was all cleaned up and things really seemed like they'd gone back to business as usual. All in all, the 9-hour drive was probably closer to 10 or 11 hours with stops for food and traffic delays, but along the way we started to get to know our iTrek Everest teammates and our guide Peasy. We had joined a public group trek, and there ended up being 7 clients in our group, which was actually a pretty great number because there was always someone around to hang out with, but there weren't so many people that it felt overwhelming. Somewhere along the way, I fell asleep and I didn't wake up again until we arrived in Manthali in pitch darkness. We stayed in a tea house that wasn't far from the Ramechhap Airport, which we hope to fly out of the next day. All 3 of us in here. Getting cozy. We're in Ramechhap this morning. We spent last night here. And hopefully today we're going to get on a flight to Lukla, because we are supposed to start hiking today. If everything goes on schedule, we will be in Phak Ding this evening. There are a lot of people at our hotel that have been waiting to get on a flight for a couple of days, and I think 6 flights are still backed up from the past couple of days of storms. So we might spend another night here if we're unlucky. I came through this window to get onto our balcony. Flights were definitely taking off, which seemed pretty promising, but the weather would have to hold out long enough for all of the people who had been waiting for days ahead of us to get their flights before we would get a chance to go. We loaded all of our duffels into this truck and drove the short distance over to the airport, and when we arrived, it was pretty chaotic. There were a lot of people waiting for flights, so Peasy led us up to the rooftop of a nearby restaurant where we could wait in peace, but definitely not quiet because the flights were really loud. So we're here at the Ramechhap Airport, and it's really busy, but Peasy did say that we have only 4 flights in front of us, so it's looking good for making it to Lukla today. Until then, we get to just watch planes taking off. Only 4 flights ahead of us meant 4 flights on our airline, which was Tara Air. There were planes taking off from a few other airlines as well, and these planes just spend the day flying back and forth between Manthali and Lukla until the weather gets bad. The flight takes about 20 minutes, so the same set of planes was cycling in and out every hour or so, with a plane taking off every 10 to 20 minutes. It was pretty cool to get to watch how efficiently this airport is run, but the Tenzing Hillary Airport, the one we'd be landing at in Lukla, is considered to be one of, if not the most dangerous airports in the world. I basically decided I just wasn't going to think about that as much as possible, and instead I tried to focus on how cool it was to watch the planes take off and land all morning. Eventually we got our tickets and we had to have our bags weighed before we could go inside the airport. They were pretty strict about the 5 kg limit on our backpacks, but there was a bit more wiggle room with the 10 kg limit on our duffel bags. After our bags were approved, we went through security and then sat down in the terminal to wait some more. But eventually, well, we got through security. We waited and waited and waited. Our flight was the next flight, and then the weather got bad in Lukla. So now everybody's out here and we're getting dalbat for lunch. And we have no idea if we're gonna get on a flight today or not. 50-50 chance. Yeah, it was definitely 100% chance of not flying at this point, but we were still trying to hold out hope. We had to stay near the airport just in case flights started up again, but eventually we got bored and decided to take a walk, and we played a game along the way.
Denmark.
Kazakhstan.
New York.
Kentucky.
By now, there was no hope left of getting on a flight that day, and weirdly enough, the thing that stressed me out the most about this was that it was really hot out and I was sweating in my clothes. I was upset that they were already getting dirty before we'd even started walking because I didn't want them to smell bad yet. And looking back, this seems so silly because every piece of clothing I brought with me was bound to get nasty at some point. Did it really matter if it happened today, tomorrow, or the next day? No. The answer is no. But anyway, we spent the night at a different place this time and we stayed in these tents. It did not happen today. We did not get on a flight. The weather was fantastic here. If anything, it's way too hot. But in Lukla, it got stormy and cloudy, so we were not able to take off. So we are here for one more night, and tomorrow morning we should be on the second flight out. Oh, and there were cats there, so that was nice. Today should actually be the day for real. We have the second flight to Lukla and we're gonna get to the airport at like 6:30. By later this morning, we should be actually hiking. After breakfast, we went back to the airport and this time we checked in right away and we were probably waiting for less than an hour before we got to go out to the tarmac to board our flight. And I think this is the part of the video where I'm supposed to be acting super scared about going on this dangerous flight, but to be honest, I was just so excited to be going that I guess I must have forgotten to be appropriately terrified. I was lucky enough to get a seat on the left side of the plane, which is the direction where you get awesome views of the Himalayas. So between the massive mountains and being able to see straight into the plane's cockpit, this might have been the coolest flight I've ever been on. And yeah, seeing the snowy mountains outside of my window just made me even more excited to start trekking. This is where it really hit me that I was actually getting to see the Himalayas, which is something I've dreamt about for a really long time. It's kind of hard to tell from the angle in this video, but this runway is on a hill, so we were going uphill when we landed, and this looked so wild in person. Once we landed, it was finally time to start hiking. Peasy.
Yes.
Which direction are you supposed to spin these?
Clockwise.
Clockwise. When we got into the actual town of Lukla, we met our porters and our second guide, Mais. Then we set off along a lively street that was lined with shops. Now that we were actually trekking, I was getting excited about pretty much everything we saw. Mani stones, prayer wheels, animals on the trail, tiny waterfalls. Literally everything felt like the most exciting thing I'd ever seen. Woo!
Hey, good morning, good morning.
And the hiking was really easy for the whole day. We were mostly going downhill and weren't even at a very high elevation yet, so it was really just a pleasant walk, although it was a bit hot out. We got to cross our first suspension bridge of the trek, and there would be a lot more of these to come, at least until we got to a much higher elevation.
Katie.
Yeah.
Don't fall off.
Oh, thanks, son.
Yeah. Yeah.
Bungee.
Yeah.
Pretty soon it was time to stop for lunch, and while we were eating, a cloud rolled right over us and started dumping rain. And not everyone had their raincoats packed into their day packs yet, but luckily the guides knew exactly what to do.
Making a poncho.
It rained for a little bit and then it stopped, but based on the clouds, we had not seen the last of the bad weather yet. So if you're planning on doing this trip, I definitely recommend that you pack for any kind of weather, because on this trip it's likely that the weather will be hot, cold, rainy, maybe snowy, super sunny, super cloudy. It's probably better just to have one set of everything you might need than several sets of one type of clothing. Oh look, our first yak sighting! Although technically these are yak-cow hybrids. By the time we arrived in Phuoc Dinh, it was raining even harder than before. You're like right underneath the downspout.
Me?
Yeah. So we stopped into a nearby tea house to wait it out and drink our first lemon ginger honeys. Once the weather cleared up, we got back on the trail and hiked another half hour or so to the village of Tok Tok, and this is where we were going to spend the night. Well, we just arrived at our first tea house on the trek. This is what our room in the tea house looks like. The trek today was pretty easy. It'll definitely be the easiest day of the entire trip. Even though I've heard that a lot of people are really afraid of the flight from Ramechhap to Lukla, it was actually really beautiful. I didn't really feel scared on it per se, even though that is supposed to be a pretty dangerous flight, especially for commercial flights. The view out the window was so beautiful. We really got to see the Himalayas before we even touched down on the ground. So far, the trekking has been really nice. Walking through all of the little towns is really cool, and obviously the mountain scenery is just fantastic. So yeah, feeling good about today, but tomorrow is supposed to be a lot harder. We are headed up to Namche Bazaar. I was even excited about being at the tea house at this point. We had really beautiful views just outside, and there was this helipad right behind the tea house. We spent the evening hanging out with our teammates, eating our first dinner of the trek, and weathering a few power outages. Vince and I are just getting ready to start the first really hard day of the trek. We're headed to Namche Bazaar today, and it's going to be longer distance and a lot more elevation gain than yesterday. We stayed in our first tea house last night, and it was pretty nice. The food was really good. We tried not yak cheese, but nok cheese for the first time yesterday, which a nok is a female yak. Yaks are only males. But yeah, the cheese tasted a bit like goat cheese. We've stopped eating meat because once we enter Sagarmatha National Park, there's no slaughtering of animals allowed, so all of the meat has to be brought up on either muleback or yak back, and apparently it can get pretty off by the time it reaches the tea houses. Overall, I'm really excited to get hiking today. This is where we are right now, and today we are going all the way up to Namche Bazaar. I went outside before breakfast to enjoy the mountain views, then I met up with everyone else back inside for a quick meal before it was time to hit the trail. It's a solar panel. We met a lot of people throughout the trek who said their solar panels didn't work well, but we had really great luck with this one. We managed to charge a power brick with it every day Vince wore it, and at night we were able to charge both of our phones and then rotate out whichever camera battery needed charging the most. Obviously, this probably wouldn't have worked as well if it hadn't been sunny, but spoiler alert, the rest of our trek was very sunny. Anyways, I can drop a link for this solar panel in the description box since we had such good luck with it, and this isn't sponsored in any way, we just had a good experience with this solar panel. The trail to Namche was uphill for most of the day, and there were a couple of really tall waterfalls along the way, and also the mountain views were fantastic. Look at his tail wagging. Oh my goodness. Oh, kisses. There were several suspension bridges between Tok Tok and Namche, and just like the plane ride, I wasn't as sketched out by them as I imagined I would be. Oh, and I should probably mention that we decided as a group to skip the acclimatization day that we were supposed to do in Namche Bazaar so that we could get back on schedule. Some of our teammates were gonna miss their international flights out of Kathmandu if we didn't get back on track. Eventually, we ran into our porters at the entrance to Sagarmatha National Park. Of course, Vince wanted to try his hand at lifting our bags.
Oh, that's not as horrible as I might have expected.
Say that at 17,000 feet. We crossed under the entrance gate to Sagarmatha National Park, and from here on out, we would be in the national park all the way up to base camp and back. The national park is home to some amazing wildlife species, and we would even get to see some of them later in the trip, but some species that call the park home that we definitely didn't get to see are red pandas and snow leopards. Yeah, it would have taken a miracle to see either of those, to be honest. Around this point, we had to take a detour because the main trail had been washed out during the monsoon. So we had to climb some extra hills, and the trail conditions were, you could say, still a bit wet. We've been going uphill since lunch, and actually it feels pretty fine so far. We're about to cross the Hillary Bridge. Bungee. Yeah, that looks horrifying. So I kind of told Vince that I would probably bungee jump with him here if we got the chance. And for context, bungee jumping is not something I've ever wanted to do. But such a bummer, the bungee jumping outfit was closed the entire time we were in Nepal. Ugh, too bad. After the Hillary Bridge, it's just a slow uphill slog all the way to Namche. But we did get to see a musk deer in the forest, which was really cool because they actually have tusks, and I've never seen a deer with tusks before. When we finally got to the top of the hill, we walked around a bend, and there was Namche. The first view of Namche was kind of a magical moment. We had to work really hard to get there, and then to get to see this amazing cityscape built right into the side of the mountain, it's just such a great reward for the effort. As we walked uphill to get to our tea house, I was feeling totally amazing. I was so happy to be there because it's such an iconic town. It's the biggest trading hub in the entire Khumbu region, and there's lots you can do here, from getting your hair cut, to getting a tattoo, to having a drink at the world's highest Irish pub.
You lost somebody.
I haven't gotten a single high five yet.
There you go.
Where's Sandy?
Yeah, where's Sandy?
I think it was
We checked into our tea house and had a quick tea. Tea house number 2. After we dropped off our packs, we went back into town and spent the evening window shopping. We'd do real shopping on the way back down. Then we all met up at the Irish pub for a quick drink before dinner. Well, So we all just went out to explore Namche Bazaar a little bit, and I think we're all a little bit disappointed that we're not going to get our acclimatization day here because it's such a cool city. We could spend hours just walking around the streets around here. But we did go to the world's highest Irish pub, and then I came back and took my first honest-to-God hot shower since Kathmandu. If anything, it was almost a little too hot, but oh my gosh, it felt amazing. And I think this will probably be my last shower until we get back here. 6 days from now, I think. I'd have to double check that, but anyway. It's almost time for dinner, so I'm going to meet up with everybody else, and then it's going to be time for sleep because we got another big day tomorrow. I got a local Sherpa dish for dinner, which was really delicious, and here's a typical charging situation if you're going to pay to charge your devices along the trail. Today we're leaving Namche Bazaar. We're skipping our first acclimatization day and heading straight to Tengboche. So we will be back on our original schedule. I think it's probably going to be harder today. It's going to be steep and it's going to be a long hike. When we arrived in Namche the previous evening, the surrounding mountains were all covered in clouds. So Vince and I made sure to check out our tea house's rooftop terrace for a view of the mountains before it was time to meet up with our teammates to start trekking. The mountains were so much closer today than they were on the first 2 days of our trek. They'd seemed so far away before, and now the snowy peaks loomed over us from across a deep valley. And before long, we could see some of the highest peaks on Earth.
Oh, is it? Oh, it's that one peeking up right there. That's Mount Everest.
We can see Mount Everest right now.
This moment was really special for me, and it was a little hard to wrap my mind around. And in addition to Mount Everest, we could also see Lhotse and Ama Dablam. Ama Dablam is a really beautiful mountain, and it would be a constant companion along the trail for the next few days. The scenery above Namche was a sort of transition zone between dense forest and craggy mountain landscapes. The trees were a lot shorter now that we'd gained some elevation, and in another day we would be above the tree line entirely. And the first third of the day was actually pretty easy because the trail was mostly flat. There's fantastic views of the mountains on this stretch of trail, and some really pretty stupas along the way as well. But things were about to get a bit harder because it was almost time to lose and then immediately have to reclimb a bunch of elevation.
So we just stopped for a tea break and we can actually see Tengboche from here, but we have to go all the way back down to the river and then all the way back up to basically the same elevation we're at now.
But really everything below about 14,000 feet or 4,200 meters didn't feel that hard for me. Down here, it was still just a matter of putting one foot in front of the other until you get to the top of a hill. One of the highlights of the day was encountering a herd of Himalayan tahr, which is a type of wild goat that's native only to the Himalayas. We stopped to watch them for a little bit, and I especially like the babies. They're just so cute. But we couldn't watch goats forever because we still had a lot of walking left to do, and now it was time to descend back down to the river, and I'm not gonna lie, it was a bit of a bummer to lose all of this elevation, but at the bottom we got to see our first full yaks, which are extra cute because they're fluffy. We crossed over the river and then got lunch, and then we just had to climb up a huge hill for the rest of the day. It was a slog, but we got through it eventually. Once we reached the top, we stepped through a gateway into the peaceful village of Tengboche, which is surrounded by stunning mountains. And I just had this immediate feeling that Tengboche was my favorite village on the trek, even though it was only day 3 and I had no idea if it would turn out to be my favorite or not.
Today has been the most amazing day so far. We've had views of the high Himalayas all day. There's been basically zero cloud cover. And now we finally made it to Tengboche, and honestly, the hike didn't feel much harder than yesterday. Me and Vince are on the top floor of our hotel, and we have a view of Mount Everest from our bedroom. And for the first time, we actually have a toilet in our room too, which is really nice. Tea house in Tengboche. We have our own toilet. We have a full bed. We have a view of Mount Everest out our window. Are you kidding me? And we're about to go check out the local monastery.
The Tengboche Monastery was the most peaceful place we'd been to on the trek so far. Even though there were plenty of people in the monastery, it was still very quiet. I got the sense that everyone there was feeling the same way I was, which was just awe at our surroundings and appreciation and respect for the monks of the monastery sharing their culture with us. Before bed, we played Yahtzee, which really just reminded me that I don't like Yahtzee very much.
Today we're headed to Dingboche. It should be a bit well, I don't know if it'll be an easier hike because we're gaining elevation, but we won't have to go uphill as much as we did yesterday. Right now, Vince and I have a fantastic view of Mount Everest and Amadablam and another mountain I don't know the name of, but we can see that the sun is rising behind them because they're sort of either backlit or side lit. We can see like glowing clouds of snow blowing off the sides of the mountain. So you can tell it's very windy up there.
The sight of the snow billowing off of the mountains was a good reminder of how harsh the environment is up at 8,000 meters. It kind of made me grateful that I had shelter and a nice warm piece of Tibetan bread waiting for me down in the restaurant. After breakfast, we started walking, and we crossed over the last suspension bridge we'd encounter until our descent in a few more days. We could still see Amadablam from this leg of the trail, but Everest was hiding behind some hills now. And we ended up seeing a couple more tars as we ascended towards Upper Tengboche, which was a bit of a detour so that we could visit the Tengboche monastery. On our way up to the monastery, we started to encounter areas where people had put yak poop out to dry, and this ends up getting burned in the stoves at tea houses in villages that are above the tree line.
We're about to visit a monastery that has a Yeti skull. No photos inside, but this is really cool.
Actually, the monk from the monastery ended up giving me permission to take some pictures inside, and this was really nice of him, and I'm so glad to have them to remember our visit. While we were here, we learned that the Tengboche Monastery is the oldest one in the Khumbu region and was built by Lama Sangwa Dorje. After our visit to the monastery, we stopped for tea, and this was a real Sherpa tea house, whereas the tea houses we stayed in throughout the trek were specifically catering to tourists. When we left Tengboche, Sandy accidentally went down the wrong trail, and when Mize noticed he was gone, he ran off to help Peasy search for him.
Stranded in the Himalayas.
Not a guide in sight.
So the rest of us waited around until the guides managed to locate Sandy, and then we kept walking to a fork that met up with the trail he'd taken.
You took a shortcut on us.
Yeah.
With everyone reunited, it was time for lunch, and we got to try garlic soup, which is supposed to help with acclimatization. The soup was really delicious, but the drink I ordered to go with it ended up being a bit much for me.
Seabuk thumb juice. Very sour. Very sour, like I said. Solar-powered tea.
That lunch ended up being the last meal where I actually had an appetite. Above 14,000 feet, eating was really difficult for me, which is a symptom of altitude sickness, but thankfully I never got any other symptoms like nausea or bad headaches. But after lunch, we hiked a flat section of trail alongside this ridiculously beautiful river. At this point, we were high enough up that there was snow on the ground, which I think was actually a result of the late monsoon that delayed the start of our trek.
I'll give Kennedy a start so that she doesn't.
Hey Vince.
I'm on to you.
Got him.
Oh, I almost didn't see this one coming.
He's gonna miss it.
That's why.
We arrived in Dingboche in the early evening, and this was a couple hundred feet higher than Vince and I hiked in Colorado, so everything above this would be a new personal record. Dingboche is a pretty remote village, but it was actually quite large compared to Tengboche. There were all sorts of stores, and this was the last chance to buy certain things like trekking gear, although essentials like toilet paper and of course Snickers bars were still available after this. The view from our tea house in Dingboche was clouded over when we arrived, but it was sure to be beautiful the next morning.
Finally getting rustic.
Still have a Western toilet.
But we at least still have a Western toilet.
We all made it to Dingboche just fine.
Today was a really beautiful hike yet again. I mean, I doubt that there's going to be a day where it's not a really beautiful hike, but it just keeps getting prettier and prettier as we get higher up in the Khumbu. Yeah, that little detour we took to that monastery was really, really cool. I really loved how peaceful that town was. The trek today wasn't all that hard. We had like a nice long section of just flat, and that felt amazing. I will say most of us have already been taking Diamox to try to make up for not having that acclimatization day in Namche. I'm not really feeling the effects of altitude yet. I've been taking a half dose of Diamox a day. I haven't really talked much about packing for this trip yet, but now we are officially in like the most rustic tea house we've been in yet, and it is cold up here. So some things I bought for this trip that I'm really glad I have. These down booties. These are amazing. I bought this goose down jacket when I got to Kathmandu. It's rolled up in its stuff sack right now, but this is so nice and it's so warm. This yak wool hat. Very nice. What else? We haven't been eating a lot of snacks on the trail. We will have to pack our own snacks tomorrow because there are no tea houses on the hike we're doing tomorrow. I saw in a lot of vlogs people saying like pack snacks if you're gonna want snacks, and I would say so far we have not eaten any of the snacks that we packed. They feed you so well on these hikes. I have been taking a whole pharmacy's worth of drugs, it feels like, every morning. Like I've been taking preventative ibuprofen, I've been taking vitamin C. I don't even know if that's doing anything for me except making me feel like I won't catch a cold. And then yeah, of course the Diamox and my normal medications as well. So that's a lot for me. The food has been really good everywhere we went so far. Of course, there's Dalbot everywhere. There's Momos everywhere. So you have your basic options, but there are things like pizza and veggie burgers and stuff too. Today I'm getting mac and cheese, so we'll see how that is. So yeah, that's just some general life on the trail kind of tidbits for you. Yeah, it's been really good so far. I really thought I would be more sore and tired and sick of it by now. I don't know, every day I'm just excited to get up and I'm excited to be here. So let's hope that tomorrow is like that yet again.
And like I said earlier, I barely got any food down at dinner, but we did all stay up to play another game after everyone finished eating.
That's a small bike. I can see it.
We're just getting ready to start our acclimatization day here in Dingboche. It's getting harder and harder to take care of ourselves as we go up just because it's so cold. You can buy hot showers here, but I didn't get one last night because I was just freezing. The moment you get out of the shower, the benefits of the hot automatically dissipate. Basically, I just bundled up, slept in my sleeping bag, and then immediately this morning got dressed as quickly as I could because it's so cold. Today we're going to do an acclimatization hike up to a peak called Nangkartshang. I think today is going to be the day where things start to feel hard. Right now we're kind of near the exact elevation that is the highest Vince and I have ever been, so don't really know what's going to happen after this, but hopefully it'll go okay.
The morning view was as beautiful as I had imagined, and I was excited to start our acclimatization circuit after breakfast, but I did notice pretty much immediately that going uphill was a lot tougher than it had been the previous few days. Peasy had already kind of prepared us for the idea that we might not make it to the top of Nangkartshang. He said that going all the way to the top, which is at about 5,000 meters or 16,700 feet, was optional.
Alright, acclimatization. Hard. First day I really feel like it's hard.
But there was one spot that we absolutely had to get to, and I honestly can't remember what that elevation was, but it was important to get a minimum elevation in for acclimatization. We all made it up to this rock, and this was the spot where we could choose to either turn around or keep going up. We needed to take a 20-minute rest here just to let ourselves adjust to the altitude. While we waited, I contemplated whether or not I wanted to keep going. I was struggling a bit with the altitude, so I felt like going higher would be a good idea because then I'd be better equipped for the next day's hike. But the trail was pretty slippery and it was getting worse as we ascended. In the end, 6 of the 7 of us decided to keep climbing.
The trail conditions are terrible. Peasy did not recommend that we do this, by the way. Just so everybody on the internet knows, this is our own dumb idea.
As we got higher, the trail conditions just got worse and worse.
I don't know why we're doing this.
Most of us decided to turn around about 150 meters below the top, which probably sounds ridiculous because we were right there. Vince was the only one who kept going, and the rest of us started what would be a long and careful trek downhill.
You alright?
What's that?
Alright?
And yeah, not one of us made it out of this descent without falling on our butts multiple times. And by the time we made it out of the worst of the snow and mud, Vince was just reaching the peak.
I made it!
Whew, that was tough.
Now that I'm back home and it's been a month since this experience, part of me wishes I'd stuck it out and finished the climb with him. But at the time, there was not a singular cell in my body that wanted to keep going up that thing. Once we were on dry ground, the hike went a lot faster. Back in Dingboche, we moved to a new tea house and Vince made it back right as the rest of us were finishing lunch.
That was indeed the first certifiably hard day. Yeah, I struggled on the way up, I struggled on the way down. We went a bit further than we probably should have. Vince went all the way to the top, the rest of us did not. Yeah, the trail got pretty slippery, muddy, snowy, but I kind of wanted to get some more elevation in to be better prepared for tomorrow. It was a struggle. We have a nice half day to spend here in Dingboche. We're all gonna get back together and go see a documentary down in town. And then maybe buy some micro spikes and gaiters because we all wish we had had those today. And it sounds like after all of the monsoon and all the bad weather last week, there's probably a lot of snow still higher up the valley. Also, we did move tea houses for the night because a kind of nicer one came available. It's a lot warmer, the rooms are nicer and bigger, and the bathrooms are inside, which is major upgrade. Oh, also, the food here is amazing. We're happy to be here for one night, however short it may be.
After lunch, we all went out to watch a documentary that was playing in town.
Oh, can we get a baby yak, hun?
Of course, honey.
Yes.
He did not get me a baby yak. The documentary was playing at this bakery, and before it started, we checked our blood oxygen levels, which were still looking okay. We also got some tea and bought micro spikes for base camp day. The film ended up being Sherpa. This film is about the avalanche that tragically took the lives of 16 Sherpas in the Khumbu Icefall during the 2014 climbing season. It's a tough watch, but I highly recommend it.
Alright, this morning we're headed out to Lobuche, which should be a pretty easy hike for the first part of the day, and then it should get pretty hard and steep. We're gonna pass through the Climbers Memorial today. This is hard to tell, but I either have a cold or the mountain air is just affecting me. I have like a stuffy nose and a sore throat. Definitely just everything's starting to get hard, which I knew would happen eventually. So now's the time to tough it out, and we're gonna get through it.
We got to watch these yaks getting loaded up with another trekking group's duffels before we started hiking. And the trail was really crowded once we got going. But at this point, I didn't mind the line because it meant we had to walk slowly, which was the only pace I was capable of anyway. I think my appetite issues were already starting to affect me negatively, but I hadn't realized that was happening yet, if that makes sense. Yeah, I definitely felt like my energy was a lot lower than it had been, but I was mostly blaming it on the altitude. But even with a low energy level, it was impossible not to appreciate the beauty of the landscape we were walking through. We walked right through a yak farm along the way, but it didn't have any yaks in it at this time of year. Peasy said the trail isn't usually this snowy during trekking season, but I thought the snow made everything look even prettier. And the trail was really muddy, but it wasn't icy yet. We stopped for lunch in Lukla, and after that, it was time to tackle this ridiculous hill. I'm not exaggerating when I say that this hill nearly broke me. And it doesn't even look that bad when you see it on video. But here's a picture I took looking up at it. Okay, let's zoom in and look at how tiny the people look up ahead of us. Look at them. So tiny.
That's quite a bit. Looks like that much to me.
By the time we made it to the top of the hill, I was totally exhausted, but I got a jolt of energy when I realized we'd made it to the Climbers Memorial at Lukla Pass. It's hard for me to even put into words how utterly overwhelming it felt to be at the memorial. There are over 100 structures here, each memorializing different climbers who have lost their lives in the mountains. Some monuments had plaques with details about the climbers' lives and how they passed away, and others were simple names, and as we read the different messages on stones, I was overcome by emotion. The fresh coat of snow across the landscape blended into the distant snowy peaks, and I felt like the memorial looked like heaven. I couldn't think of a more fitting and beautiful place to honor and remember the people who have given their lives for the mountains. After Lukla Pass, we got a break from the aggressive elevation gain, and the rest of the walk to Lobuche was a lot easier, but I was feeling pretty emotionally raw after the Climbers Memorial, which you're going to see in a few minutes here. We arrived in Lobuche, checked into our tea house, and had some delicious mint tea.
Well done, guys.
Oh, I can smell the popcorn.
I hope everybody like it. Minty.
Lemon ginger honey.
Green tea?
Minty.
Minty. Oh, minty is good.
Then we got our rooms, and that's when another wave of massive feelings hit me.
So we all made it to Lobuche, and to be honest, today was really hard. There were times where I did not want to keep walking. I really had to dig deep to do this today, especially that big hill after lunch. But I will say, once we got to the Climbers Memorial up at the top of the hill, that was a really emotional moment for me, and it reminded me that this is something that's worth doing even though it's hard. That kind of gave me the motivation to keep going today, to be honest, because this for me is something that I've been wanting to do for a really long time, and I've been afraid that I wouldn't be able to. And I guess I still don't know if I'll be able to, but it's worth a shot, right? But I'm really really grateful to be here right now. And yeah, that's all. I guess this day really took it out of me. Like, physically and emotionally. Okay, this is dumb, so I'm gonna stop. Today's the day. We're getting an early start and we're heading to base camp. I'm really excited. I'm also really tired and, yeah, really cold. Mornings are rough. Once I get moving, it'll be okay.
We started hiking before dawn, and I was so cold and exhausted that I didn't end up filming anything until after the sun came up.
Here's my ride.
But I started to feel a lot better once it got sunny because it was instantly warmer. Now that we were getting really close to base camp, we'd see helicopters flying low over us every few minutes, and most of these were just sightseeing helicopters, but there were definitely some that were there to evacuate people who had altitude sickness. We were at almost 17,000 feet, or like 5,000 meters, so the simple act of just taking a step is basically a Herculean task up here.
There's 1, 2, 3. There's five yaks, guys.
Get it! A horse.
Oh, and a horse. 5 yaks and a horse.
We can already see it. Yeah. Easy said, it's right over there. This is the Khumbu Glacier.
Seeing the Khumbu Glacier for the first time was one of the most spectacular moments of my life. I've read so many books by different climbers about their experiences on Mount Everest, and it was just so amazing to be standing in this place that I've read about and dreamed about since I was a little kid. By now we were almost at Gorakshep, and when we arrived there, we checked into our tea house and had lunch, which for me meant I had like 3 bites of food before I couldn't eat anymore and just gave up. Don't be like me at altitude. Try to eat, even if you don't feel like it.
It's probably safe to say that our entire group is going to make it, which is really awesome. I'm so excited. We've already seen the Khumbu Glacier. This morning was really rough, but once the sun came out, I felt a lot better, and I'm ready to go.
After lunch, we still had a lot of hiking left to get to base camp, and the terrain wasn't all that steep, but it was still quite exhausting. People kept riding past us on horseback, and a lot of these horses were just being brought out to base camp where they could be hired by trekkers who were too tired to make the return walk to Gorakshep. This little stretch of trail was the only part where it ever felt like the trail itself was somewhat dangerous. This area is prone to rock slides, and while we were walking, there were a couple of spots where some small rocks tumbled onto the trail in front of us.
When do we get to it?
After that,
100% or 50-50?
50-50.
What do you think, Peasy? Are we gonna make it?
Yeah, we will. Just a 15-minute, okay, guys?
And then a blizzard will come.
No, never.
Can you imagine doing this like 2 weeks ago?
No, I can't.
Even though this hike was tiring, I had enough excitement to propel me through it without too much difficulty, and it didn't hurt that it was one of the most beautiful places I've ever seen. The moment we arrived at base camp was so exciting.
Congratulations, Katie.
Thank you.
Thank you, PG. Couldn't have done it without you.
We made it!
Yay!
Everybody made it!
We all worked so hard to reach this goal, and for me, this was something I'd been dreaming of doing since I was like 10 years old, so I was just elated to finally be there. We wandered around base camp for a little bit, and I did not envy the trekkers who were actually camping out there now that I knew how cold it was at night. Kennedy brought a send beer with her, and we all passed it around and had a sip.
No, it's not bad.
No, it's good. It's quite good.
Anybody else?
I gotta get a picture. I'm from Wisconsin. Hi, Strom.
You gotta hold it with the label out. That's what I learned from beer commercials.
I really felt like I was on top of the world, even though the real top of the world was still almost 3,500 meters above us. I was sad when we had to leave, but I also knew that we had to make it back to the tea house before night. And practically the second we turned around and started hiking again, it was like all of the energy just drained from my body. All I could think as we walked was that there was no possible way I was going to be able to climb Kalapatar, a nearby peak that we were supposed to start hiking up at 4:30 the next morning.
Well, the whole group made it to base camp, which was really awesome, but I'm gonna be honest, I pretty much gave everything I had to give on the way back. It was exhausting. I don't know, this was by far the hardest day of the trek for me, but worth it to get to base camp. Now the question is, am I gonna go to Kalapatar tomorrow morning? I don't know. Yes. Vince has opinions. Anyway, just glad to be back.
Thankfully, I perked back up after some rest, and it turned out Sandy had bought popcorn for our group to eat at dinner. And popcorn is one of my favorite snacks, so I actually managed to eat a bunch of it.
After everybody found out how tall and steep Kalapatar is, Vince told me he was okay with me not wanting to do it anymore, and it turned out he was really the only one who wanted to do it. So because of that, he decided not to do it so that we all can walk a little bit further downhill today so that the following day we can get to Namche earlier. At this point, I'm super ready to be at a lower elevation. It's been amazing up here, but it's so cold, and honestly, I feel like just terrible all the time. I've completely lost my appetite, I can't stop blowing my nose, I have like a mild headache, and yeah, I'm excited to be lower where humans can breathe. That would be nice.
In the grand scheme of things, everything I was feeling was very mild, and I've definitely watched other vlogs where people ended up with either altitude sickness or even food poisoning. In fact, right as we were leaving our tea house, we saw a guy getting helivaced because of altitude sickness.
This is our last view of Everest Base Camp. And we just saw an avalanche on our way out.
We heard a loud crash echo through the valley, and then we turned around to see this cloud of snow way over on this mountain on the other side of the valley.
And we also just met Pasang Dawa Sherpa.
Pasang Dawa Sherpa has climbed Mount Everest 29 times as of the time I'm recording this.
So it was really cool to get to meet him on our way out here.
It took a while to get out of Gorakshep because we had to wait for lots of other trekkers who were headed up to base camp.
Was this stream here yesterday?
I don't remember.
I don't know either.
But after we got out of the initial traffic jam, the hiking was really easy because it was mostly flat. We made it to Lobuche in no time, and before I knew it, we were back at the Climbers Memorial at Tukla Pass. This meant it was almost time for lunch, and at this point I knew I had to eat even if I didn't feel like it, so I forced myself to eat everything on my plate for the first time in like 4 days, and after that I had so much energy, I felt like a whole new person. After Dugla, we got to take a different trail than the one we'd come up, and this trail passed right through the village of Parache, where we took a break by a yak farm. If we'd climbed Kalapatar, this is where we would have stayed the night, but since we'd all skipped the peak, we had extra time to get a bit further along the trail before nightfall. I'm not gonna lie, walking downhill all day was so nice. Every day that we trekked down, we covered a similar amount of distance that had taken 2 days on the way up to base camp. That's how much faster you can go when you're going downhill and you're acclimatized. We ended up stopping in a village called Somare for the night. Our tea house had a warm shower, so I got to take my first shower in about 5 days, and it was so nice.
It was a pretty long downhill trek today, and we ended up stopping in Somare for the night. Tomorrow we head down to Namche. I'm pretty sure I got really sunburned today. I was really hoping that wouldn't happen.
We ended our evening with a tutorial by Sandy where he taught us how to fold our warm washcloths into chickens.
And this toe together. And this toe. And this toe together.
Those on opposite sides.
Yep.
Didn't realize so much dexterity would be required.
No can do.
Just choke it.
Just choke
it. Choke that chicken.
Good job, honey.
Thank you. It's my first piece of art that I've ever made.
It's just a pile.
That's a chicken leg.
Oh my goodness. Last night, I had the best sleep I've had in days. I got to shower for the first time since Tengboche. Getting up was amazing because I was well rested and it's warm enough here. Yeah, things are looking up. Today we're heading down to Namche, which should be a lot of fun. We're gonna probably have one last toast at the Irish pub and probably do some shopping, and it's gonna be great.
By the way, from here on out, I was obsessively coating my nose with lip balm because it was getting so raw from constantly having to blow it. So that's why my nose and upper lip are going to be shiny in some shots.
Yeah, coming through.
But for the second day of our descent, we were headed all the way back to Namche, which everyone was really excited about because we all wanted to hang around town in the evening. Half the group had something they wanted to buy from the pharmacy, and we could all shop for souvenirs now that we'd only have a short distance to carry them. Oh, and of course the Irish pub was also calling to us. We had a couple of steep hills to climb on the way, but they felt so much easier than they did a week ago now that we were acclimatized. We passed back through Tengboche, then went all the way back down to the river just so we could climb up another hill. As we got closer to Namche, there were opportunities for souvenir shopping along the trail, and I picked up this neat mushroom hat for my sister-in-law.
Hope you like your hat, Courtney.
Peasy found some edible berries for us to try.
Should we just the orange part?
Yeah.
What's it taste like?
Nature.
And we finally arrived back in Namche around sunset and checked into our tea house.
Oh, this looks nice.
Yeah. We actually have our own ensuite, complete with shower in here. Well, that's it for our second to last trekking day. It was a long one today, but it's gonna be an even longer one tomorrow. We're headed all the way back down to Lukla. So it took us 2 days to get here on the way up. It's gonna take us 1 day to get back down. Today, we did a little less than 2 days worth of walking, and we made it to Namche in time to do some shopping and to go to the Irish pub one last time.
Vince and I went out and stocked up on some lightweight souvenirs that I could fit into my day pack, and then we stopped into the pharmacy and checked our blood oxygen levels, which had improved a lot since the last time we checked them. At some point, the team from iTrek Everest made a Facebook post congratulating us on our successful trek, which contained a word of very timely advice. Oops. But in all seriousness, I think I gave up after drinking about a third of my hot rum punch and ended up just eating a lot of popcorn instead, which is honestly pretty typical.
Bring us sugar and tea and rum and one day, yes. It's kind of hard to believe, but this is officially our last day of walking all day. I don't even know what we're gonna do with ourselves after this. But it is going to be all day. We have 21K to walk all the way back to Lukla. The beginning is gonna be pretty steep downhill, and then it'll be some Nepali flat, and then at the end, it's going to be universal up all the way back up to Lukla. So it's gonna be a long day, and we're trying to get started early.
Somewhat shockingly, I didn't get very sore at all over the course of our trek. I usually have pretty problematic knees, but so far my knees were doing fine, and I didn't have so much as a single blister on my feet. But this was all about to change, because this 13-mile day started with descending down the most never-ending hill of the entire trek. By the time we got to the Hillary Bridge, one of my IT bands was already hurting, and we'd barely made a dent in the distance we had to hike. Pretty soon, we exited Sagarmatha National Park, and outside of the park, we immediately started running into these huge trains of mules that were shipping supplies up the trail. Apparently, there are a couple of days each week where way more shipping happens, so we kept getting stopped by these huge lines for a good few hours, and we waited at this suspension bridge for a super long time as mule after mule after mule crossed it.
It's the human turn.
After we finally got our turn to cross the bridge, it was stop and go all the way up until lunch. We'd walk a little ways, then stop for a train of mules, then walk a little ways, then stop for another train of mules. We had lunch back at our first tea house in Tok Tok, and I got their veggie burger, which was super delicious, but at this point I was desperate for a real meat burger. I guess this was a sign that I was severely lacking in protein.
Oh, you're coming with? Bless you.
After lunch, the mules were still monopolizing the trail to the point that even the yaks didn't know what to do with themselves.
Last bridge.
When we finally arrived in Lukla, it felt like a big city compared to all of the villages we'd been staying in. Even Namche. Everything was so lively, it took me a minute to adjust, but it was definitely a fun moment because now we'd officially completed our trek.
Oh, we did it.
We did it.
I hobbled into our final tea house with a very sore knee, feet covered in blisters, but feeling very accomplished.
This room is huge. Look at how much space we have. We're back in Lukla. I just had the most amazing hot shower, I'm pretty sure, of my entire life. Feels great. Yeah, just to wrap this up, if I have any thoughts or advice, I think it would be, if you want to do this and you're on the fence, if you're relatively physically fit already, you'll probably be fine. We did about 6 months of training, but really we didn't do anything too intense. We don't live up high or anything, but we had like a staircase and a hill near our house, and we would just go to that once or twice a week and just go up and down and up and down and up and down. And me and Vince already walked 3 miles a day together. Honestly, I felt like that was pretty sufficient training. If you can get some altitude training in, that will help a lot too, which Vince and I did. We went to Colorado, but Thaddeus did not, and he did great on this trek. I think all of my fears of not being able to do this were pretty much unfounded. It went pretty fine. I actually feel a lot better than I thought I would. I would also say, if you want to do this trek, it's probably better to have a pretty flexible mindset going in. As you saw, our schedule did get messed up here and there, but everything worked out great. So I would say definitely try to build in some free days at the end of your trip so that you don't miss your international flights if your schedule for the trek gets messed up. Flexibility is key. What else? Do your best to appreciate and enjoy the moments that you're out here. Because yeah, sometimes it will be hard, and sometimes you're gonna feel a little bit miserable if you just remind yourself, wow, you're in the Himalayas, you're trekking to Mount Everest Base Camp. Try to take that in when you can and appreciate it, because it's a really special thing. If you're coming in the fall, definitely pack for hot and cold weather, because it was really hot in the daytime and really cold at night, and you're definitely going to want to be warm in those tea houses, especially up high. I would also highly recommend hiring a guide service. We did a public group trip with iTrek Everest. You probably would recognize them from Kara and Nate's YouTube videos because they also went with the same trekking company. The reason we chose them is because I kind of thought they were a really good value for the cost that they charge, specifically because they include all of your meals on the trip. So that's breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and hot drinks. And all of that stuff gets like more expensive. It really starts to add up as you go higher up the mountains. Our guides, Peasy and Mais, have been amazing. And obviously this would be impossible for us to do without our porters. They've also been amazing. And yeah, I would definitely recommend iTrek Everest. They were fantastic the entire time. Those are my major thoughts having just finished the trek. Tomorrow we get back on our flight from Lukla to Ramechhap Airport, and then we're driving to Kathmandu. Vince and Tad and I do have a couple days there of exploring, so it'll definitely be a different vibe, and we're really excited to see what Kathmandu has to offer.
The final dinner of the trek was a big celebration with Peasy, Mais, and all our porters, and these guys are all so awesome, and they made it possible for all of us to achieve this dream.
Come on, Dennis.
After dinner, we stayed up late and had a little dance party before bed. In the morning, Vince, Tad, Peasy, and I took the flight from Lukla back to the Ramechhap Airport, while the rest of the group took a helicopter straight back to Kathmandu. Once again, we managed to survive the flight.
We made it.
The more direct road back to Kathmandu was open now, so we had a much shorter drive and we made it back to Hotel Low Mustang in time for lunch. We ran back into the rest of our team at the hotel, and Tim had already picked out a burger place nearby for lunch. This burger was everything that I'd been craving. Like, this is how you end an Everest Base Camp trek. Our trek really fulfilled a long-held dream of mine, and living that dream was honestly even better than I'd hoped it would be. I absolutely loved the entire experience, including the hard parts. It was so amazing to finally get to see these places that I've read about and seen in documentaries, and to witness the raw beauty of the Himalayas and the fortitude of the people who live in the Khumbu region.
Thank goodness I have the Khumbu cough.
Oh, right there. There's your photo.
Oh, I missed it. It's warm, isn't it?
Yeah, is it warm and so now I'm